What's going on, everyone? We're back with our third mock draft here, post free agency. I guess what is it now? A week and a half or two since we've gotten through all the big names and all that. But um, it's good to be back for another mock draft, Ben. Good to see you, man. Got a little tan from the weekend. How you doing, brother?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Ian. And yes, you're right. I got a little bit of tan at Daytona Beach. So yeah, definitely had a great spring break. I hope you did as well. And I'm so excited for our mock draft. I believe this is actually our first one since the free agency has like pretty much been mostly concluded too.
Right. Yeah, that sounds good, man. My spring break was good as well. I was down in Busch Gardens for a day. That was a hot day, but it was fun. It was fun. Appreciate you
That's
asking.
right.
We're going to pull up the mock draft here on this
That's
one.
awesome.
So, Ben, the first time you had obviously odds, you're back to odds now. So,
Yes.
without further ado, first overall pick, Mr. Morris.
So thank you so much, Ian. I'm really excited for this. And I find it funny because way back when we did our first mock draft, which was the morning leading up to the Super Bowl, I was having this conversation with you and you were agreeing with me because at the time, this is like what we thought was going to happen. Top three unanimously, we didn't know the order was going to be Cam Ward, Shadir Sanders, and Travis Hunter. I don't think that anymore. Um, and I'm sure you don't either. And it just goes to show you how crazy the NFL draft lead up can change in just not
Exactly.
even 2 months. It's been like 6, 7 weeks since our first one, I think. So I do think the one thing you can expect, and I do even think days leading up, what you can expect, as long as Tennessee doesn't trade out of the first overall pick, which I don't anticipate them doing, it is going to be Cameron Ward for Miami. I think he is that one quarterback I go, look, this is a guy I could see being a franchise guy, even as like 10 years plus guy. Of course, I think Tennessee's going to have to be patient. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a situation where we see Jaden Daniels just flourish out of the gates and, you know, have these great numbers, but also just make insane throws like the Hail Mary versus Chicago and the NFC Championship title run. Wouldn't necessarily anticipate that, but I think there's going to be a lot of things you like to see there. Even in a big game of his career, the bowl game where he only played the first half, he played lights out. I mean, he was barely missing any throws in a game that he really needed to play well in. I think that was that kind of game, just even them seeing the first half, where it kind of had the scouts like, are we sure he's our number one QB prospect guy yet? And he absolutely was. Now, I think if we're going to say anything that's like a little bit of a red flag of his game where he can improve on, I think sometimes he's a one step ahead of himself, where sometimes I believe he will force the ball down the field and like he'll throw it where his mind necessarily like he
Yeah,
sees it going this far, and
I know what you
sometimes I
mean.
think
Yeah.
it just isn't exactly where his mind has it going. But that stuff can clean up throughout the rookie season too. I mean, we
Right.
even heard Mahomes in his first season say he didn't even learn, which was his best season of his career statistically. He didn't even learn how to read defenses until the second half of the season,
Yeah.
and he was doing so good. So like there'll be things to clean up as it goes, but I think he's the unanimous number one pick.
Exactly. Yeah. I would have taken Ward as well, just based off what they've done in free agency. They addressed the left tackle position by overpaying Mr. Dan Moore. Um, and then signing Kevin Zeitler, and so they've rounded out their offensive line. So I would assume that they go Ward here. I would as well. I think he's been really underrated throughout the process in terms of his just his presence in the pocket and standing there and taking hits while making throws right over the middle. And like you mentioned, like the I guess the red flag with him is just when he gets out of structure, he tends to do a little bit too much, and I think he just needs to clean up that part of his game. But I thought he started to read defense as well towards the end of his career, and which obviously he started out at Incarnate Word, which is a much smaller D1, and then at Washington State, and he produced at every single one. And of course, having his best year at Miami at the highest level that he played at, so that's really impressive. I would take him there. He can make it. He can make throws from any arm angle, which is really impressive. I kind of mentioned in my report that he in terms of just the arm angles, kind of the aggressiveness reminds me of Jordan Love a little bit. I saw another comparison was Steve McNair, which is a former Titans quarterback. Um, so I thought that was both those guys were fair comparisons for him. I think Moore is going to be an excellent player. Um, At two here, I almost thought about. I was kind of playing around with it earlier. I was trying to trade out of it with Cleveland just to see if they can get a haul, but I was like, okay, I don't think anyone's gonna trade up for Shador especially at this point. I can see him falling out of the top 10 if he doesn't get to, let's say, the Saints at 9. I think that he can continue to fall. But here we're going to go with Abdul Carter. Him and Miles Garrett will be completely scary. It transitioned to linebacker into an edge defender now. Super explosive, super fast around the edge, great bend. He definitely needs to add a little bit more counter moves. I think he's still more raw as a pure pass rusher, but I think just because of his raw athleticism, he will be able to produce from day one. Um, and obviously, he's been tweeting out that he should be number one multiple times over the past, I want to say, month and a half now. So, but I think I wouldn't like it as a Steelers fan if they took Carter because I don't want to deal with him and Garrett, especially when Garrett his contract's up and he'll be older, and then you got to deal with Carter for another 10 years. So, but this would be an excellent selection for them.
I love that pick, Ian. I think it's a great pick. And we are 2 for 2 right now. We see it eye to eye. That was my second pick as well. And I think the biggest thing to me that really like solidified them picking is this is why I'm so happy we're doing it post free agency now. Is you kept Miles Garrett on a really wealthy contract, so now you're bolstering
Yeah.
your defensive line, and that's what you're going to do now. Obviously, if he goes number one pick, that's a good news for a guy like you as a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, because you don't have those two guys coming at you. But yeah, I agree. But I will go not necessarily an edge rusher here at number 3, but a defensive tackle, the best pure prospect, Mason Graham from Michigan. I think when I see this guy, there's just a lot of versatilness in his game. I think he's very explosive again to the quarterback, but I think I mean, I've even liked what I've seen from him on stopping the run, but I even think he can take that to another level
Yeah.
as the pros hit. And with the New York Giants, I think right, it's a very fascinating situation because obviously, like you said, like I mean, there have been talks with Shadir Sanders at 3 to New York, but when you said Saints, that's actually where I picked Shadir Sanders. Like, um, I think it could like flip that much for him, and maybe it goes up a little bit. We don't know in this next 6 week, but to focus on a guy like Mason Graham, also who doesn't just when you look at it, even when you take out like the paper and all the statistics, who doesn't want one of the best tackles and one of the best defensive players in the nation from a Big Ten school? You look through the history of guys and like just year after year, Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin's got some. There's just always. I mean, now like Oregon in the Big Ten, you're going to be hearing a lot of those names too. Like it's just one of those schools and one of those conferences rather where it's just amazing to see. So that I got Mason Graham 3
Yeah,
to New
I
York.
honestly that's a really pretty sick fit. I think the Giants really had an underrated free agency. They added Javon Holland to their secondary alongside the second year player now, Tyler Nubin. They added another corner, Paulson Adebo, coming off a pretty significant injury, but he's a ball hawk, so that's going to be huge for them. But putting Mason Graham next to Dexter Lawrence, probably the best defensive tackle in football, putting him next to him because Graham can line up in different sorts of techniques, and that'd be that'd be a terror for the NFC East. That'd be a really fun fit. I actually really like that a lot. At 4 here, I just I can't see New England not taking Travis Hunter, especially if he's here at 4. I think in the one that I did earlier, Travis was here at 4, but he's so good on both sides of the ball. I think he really has the ability and potential to be a wide receiver 1 for them and really help Drake May out while still helping on that defensive side. And it could go vice versa. I mean, we could see a lot more of him at corner. I know he measured as a corner at the combine, so that we could really see him a lot more on the corner side. We'll see what Vrabel likes to do. I could see him playing him more on the defensive side, knowing him. But I'd love this fit for New England here. That'd be huge for them.
I love that fit too. And also to just go off with what you're saying, Travis Hunter or Ray Slang number 4 sounds crazy, but then you put him to a team that in my eyes is one of the winners of free agency.
Yeah,
I mean, you saw what they did with getting Williams on being the highest paid player in their franchise ever. For Drake May, they got Matt Collins as another wide receiver, and who's to say maybe they still don't get a tier 2 wide receiver. I know last week Stephon Diggs visited with the New England
Hmm.
Patriots, and
Yeah.
just all these other things what they've done in free agency. There's a lot more I'm missing. Like they had the most money, they they made the most of
Took
it.
advantage.
And yes, yes. But number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars, like it's going to be really interesting for them, right? Because they kind of were labeled as the cleaning house team, one of the teams that were cleaning house on just,
Yeah.
they trade away Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram's gone, so now you're in needs of tight end. And although this might not be labeled as a fancy pick or something that's going to be like crazy headline, it's a much needed pick, and that's Will Campbell from LSU. I think, look, I do like that they signed some pretty relatively cheap contracts overall on offensive tackles, or offensive line rather, in free agency. But this is a guy that is a day one starter. He's going to get to work right away. And we're talking about putting Trevor Lawrence in the best situation. Let's just try Trevor Lawrence to not be. I think if my memory stands, I believe since Trevor Lawrence has entered the league, he's been the most sacked quarterback. I know
Something like
like
there. Yeah.
last season he hasn't, but I think since he's entered the league, he has. So a way to fix that is getting one of probably, in my eyes, the best offensive linemen in the draft, just overall. But if not, you can't say he's not a top 3 offensive lineman in the draft as a prospect. So that's needed for Jacksonville.
Yeah, I would definitely take Campbell there as well. He started every single year at LSU, including himself as a true freshman, which is just super impressive. I mean, the concerns with him are like his arm length, his wingspan is much shorter than the ideal outside or the ideal offensive tackle. So he may have some struggle with getting hands-on guys, especially like the really speedy ones to the outside. But I mean, he's super athletic. He got a really nasty streak, really powerful. I think he's gonna be fine out there, honestly. And if you really want to, you can kick him inside and have him play guard. But regardless of where you play him, I think he's a really, really good player. At 6 here, I still love this fit, Genty, to Las Vegas. I'm sure Pete Carroll is reminded of Marshawn Lynch a little bit with him, just with the way that he breaks tackles and can really just score it from wherever on the field, pretty much with his breakaway speed. Um, him and Brock Bowers would be pretty fun fit, I think, just to make the defenses think a lot more. They do really need help defensively. I think they can address that later in the draft, but I think adding as much as you can to that offensive side, which is also struggling, I think adding Genty there would really help. Now Geno Smith out, who's been excellent the past 2 years now, and now is with Pete Carroll once again. So I'm excited to see that. I would love Genty there.
I love it. That's a great pick. I was actually flirting with that idea for the Raiders taking him number 6, but I mean, why not do it? Like you said, the comparisons Pete Carroll. Now, you got a guy like Geno Smith at quarterback. I think the Raiders, they're feeling like something's changing, at least offensively for
Yeah.
them, and production going up from what we've seen in recent years. Number 7, let's give Justin Fields the best wide receiver on the board, and in my opinion, that's McMillan from Arizona. Look, for me, there's a lot of different. When we talk about comparisons, it is a funny thing to do because, of course, they are just their own player. But I do see a lot of Mike Evans in his game. I really do, and I think. And I mean, also too, he's just made unbelievable catches, one-hand catches that are, Sports Center top 10 plays you wake up or the next morning and see on TV or the night of. And I think, well, we do know for sure Justin Fields is going to have Garrett Wilson to throw to,
Mm-hmm.
and we're thinking Alan Lazard as well, although nothing's like
Yeah.
for sure yet, just because it doesn't really seem like the market really was kind of going the way he was thinking and everything like that. So you still get 3 good wide receivers despite not having Devontae Adams on your team anymore. And this is just going to be really good for Justin Fields. This can hopefully even be able for him to really show people progression in the pass game. And this is what the Jets need as a complete restart.
Yeah, I actually really like that. McMillan, I do see a little bit of Mike Evans with him. I see a lot more like Mike Williams as well. He's a wiry guy, but he's strong. He's honestly much faster when you turn on the games and watch. He's got strong hands. He's not the best separator, but you have Garrett Wilson on the team for that, who's one of the best in the NFL at separating.
Oh, it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think adding McMillan, just a different skill set, could help Fields out and that whole entire offense out. I think Fields would really enjoy that. He did take a step this year. I thought in his passing. I did read a stat. He was 85% on his or on target throws in the short range. So I want to say that's like 5 to 8, 9 yards, 5 to 10. I want to some in that range. So that was improvement there. I think it was up around 6%. So he did take a step there. Obviously he got that money. So I love the McMillan pick there. I think that could be a really fun fit with him and Wilson. Here at 8, we have the Carolina Panthers. If they were smart, they'd take Will Johnson, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think for some reason, he's going to fall, and I really do not know why. But here we're going to go with Jalen Walker. I've seen him mocked here a few times. He's a guy that can kind of play in between. He can play on the edge as well as the off-ball linebacker position. He flies around the field, excellent athlete, good leader, and can really hit guys. And he's shown some real upside and flashes as a pass rusher. So we could see him on the edge for that Panthers defense, which they need a leader on that side. They've been missing one since Kuechly.
I really like that pick a lot. I mean, Walker is one of my actually like just favorite NFL draft guys on like the board. I just love watching him play, and I think the biggest thing to me, it just screams game record. I mean, I think, of course, there were so many great defenders this past season from the Georgia Bulldogs, but I think defensively, no one had the kind of impact he did. Number 9 is, I think, time for Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, to be picked to the New Orleans Saints. Now, look, I mean, Derek Carr obviously seems to be the guy starting quarterback, but I would not be surprised if their new head coach, which is Kellen Moore, who was the OC from the Philadelphia Eagles, I would not be surprised if he goes, look, it's open competition now. And Derek Carr's job is not safe. Even though we all in our minds are thinking Derek Carr is going to start, I wouldn't be surprised if he would like add that, competition to Derek Carr, which only makes Derek Carr better. And I think Shedeur Sanders, I think, of course, me and you have talked about time and time again with him. How is he really going to be when he's out of the pocket? Of course, I mean, we've seen glimpses of like great things like the Hail Mary, which was awesome to force overtime and things like that. But on a consistent basis, it really seems like, I will say the expression, I think it's like a deer in headlights when he just sees a bunch of 300-pound guys coming at him and not really knowing exactly how to escape from the pressure. Now, obviously, he's going to hope he's got a better offensive line in New Orleans. I will say Colorado's wasn't the best. I don't like the way Shedeur Sanders really approached his offensive line, and that goes more into characteristics. I think if you want your offensive line to be better, motivate them in a way that can make them better. Don't go out publicly bashing them. So I think that's another thing too, just characteristic, like how's he going to be? And he might be very arrogant his rookie season, and he'll learn quickly throughout his rookie contract with the New Orleans Saints. That's not how you go about in the NFL, because you're going to be welcomed to the NFL very quickly. But I know I'm saying a lot of negative. There's also a lot of positive that comes with Shedeur Sanders. I think he's got, quarterback-wise, I think he's got a really great football IQ. And I think he can make fast on-time throws like when he needs to. I think, with the wrist, just throw it 15, 20 yards easily. Pretty good there. I just want to see how it's going to look in other metrics of his game. That being said, though, it won't be the end of the world for the New Orleans Saints because he won't even necessarily be their guaranteed starting quarterback.
Right. Yeah. I honestly, that'd be a pretty good pick there. We've talked about it before. If the Saints don't pick him at 9, he's probably going to fall. And I like him sitting behind Carr for a year. I know Carr's he didn't take that pay cut, so he's getting all $40 million this year. Regardless, still pushing Carr to be better. I think that'd be really good for him and Shedeur as well.
Yeah.
And Kellen Moore, offensive minded guy, I think he could really do well with him. And then Garrett, oh my gosh, what's his name? Nussmeier is their offensive coordinator now. His son is the quarterback at LSU. So
Right.
He's got some history coaching quarterbacks, I believe, so that could be really beneficial for him. And then I'd like to see Sanders and Olave. That'd be a pretty nice duo, I think. But yeah, I actually like that there at 9 for the Saints. At 10, I'm going to go with a fun fit here. We're going to go with Tyler Warren. I want to see him and Cole Kmet out there on the same field together would be pretty sick, alongside Ben Johnson zone run offense. So they just get out in space and just run people over. But Warren is a super versatile tight end, probably the most in this class, obviously. But he's taken wildcat snaps, he's taken quarterback snaps, he's taken fullback, wide back, whatever you want to call it, halfback snaps. He's got great hands. Not a super good separator, but he wins with his physicality because he's like six. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, he's 6'5", 256. That's a really big tight end. So
Very
super good after the catch. He gets after it in the run blocking game. And he's got great hair, the long wavy blonde locks. He's gonna have a good career just because of that.
He is exactly. And I mean, I think like, no, will he necessarily have the season Brock Bowers is going to have? Probably not, but I do think he's going to have a really, really good season. And maybe it'll be not Brock Bauer numbers, but maybe it won't be far off Brock Bauer numbers. I think he'll do really well with the Chicago Bears. I think that's a great pick. I just think Chicago overall, they're already doing so much better post free agency on the line of scrimmage on both ends of the ball. So then to give Caleb Williams, second-year quarterback, a tight end as well is just awesome. Yeah. 11, I think it's about time Will Johnson's name stops getting slid down. I think he will go to the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, really what's really fascinating with the San Francisco 49ers is you could pretty much say any position on defense is a need of theirs. So you really can't go wrong. I think they have to go defense at least first round. I mean, there's still some holes on offense, of course, but not comparable to the defensive side of the ball. And I mean, look, like I do think he's a shutdown cornerback. I mean,
10 minutes, dang.
Oh wow. I do think he's a shutdown cornerback, but I think he'd be a great fit for the San Francisco 49ers. As any defender would be for the San Francisco
100%. 100%. I think Will Johnson is a top 5 player in this class, and I don't think this will be his slide, which is still top 12, top 13 range, which is obviously not a huge slide. Obviously, you want to be in, but still, he's really just a really good corner. Cowboys here, I think I'm not going to go running back this early here for them. Wide receiver feels pretty needy just for another guy alongside Lamb, and I think Golden has a case as the best one in this class. I think he's slightly behind McMillan. Really good separator, can line up just about anywhere. Really reminds me of Antonio Brown, the way he moves. It's kind of shocking when I was watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, is this him? And he returns kicks just like Antonio Brown did in his rookie year. So yeah. I really like this fit there for Golden.
I like that a lot. Miami Dolphins, let's just continue to protect Tua Tagovailoa. And let's go Tyler Booker from Alabama, offensive guard, which is crazy because that's also an Alabama, as Tua, he went to Alabama as well. So you have like, just some Crimson Tide there on Miami's offense. But yeah, I think this is much needed. Yeah, I mean, and a good amount of offensive line, I think, is a need, as long as, like, of course, edge rushing and defense, tackles and stuff for Miami. But I think let's just get the offensive line out of the way, protect Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I like that. Booker's he's really powerful. Not the best athlete, but he is very, very powerful.
Absolutely.
Here at 14. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's go with Colston Loveland. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think he's not much better, but I think he's a clearly better receiving prospect than Tyler Warren as a tight end. Really good separator. Him and Loveland and Warren are like, I don't want to call them Gronk and like Travis Kelce, but that's like those are the two archetypes that they fit. And I think Loveland adding another weapon there for whoever's starting at quarterback for the Colts would be nice.
I like that a lot. I'm going to actually change up a little bit for Atlanta as well. I'll go edge rusher, James Pierce Jr. I think he'd be a great pick. I think actually his stock might rise a little bit because we were thinking like early mid-20s, maybe even like a team like the Green Bay Packers get him. But I do think James Pierce Jr. would be a great fit for Atlanta. I mean, there were just things you saw on defense where they just, I mean, don't get me wrong, like Kirk Cousins, it was bad enough seeing how his season went, but then also it doesn't help when the defensive side, your team's giving up games where the offense scoring 30s, 40s on you.
Yeah.
So I think that can be really good for Atlanta.
Yeah, they are in desperate need of a legit pass rusher. Obviously, I don't think
Big
Judon's
time.
even there anymore. No one signed him, which is, if I'm not mistaken. So, but here at 16, we're going to pair up Harrison with his old teammate Emeka Egbuka.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think that'd
that's
be a really nice
awesome.
fit. They need a lot more. They need more firepower on offense. They clearly were. They made some strides. They exceeded expectations for the most part, at least in my eyes. But I think adding another receiver who's very familiar with Marvin Harrison Jr. would be really well and open up a lot more for both of them.
I like it a lot. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals, we were talking about how well they did. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase on offense. Hendrickson now leaving. Well, let's go the best safety on the board, in my opinion, Starks from Georgia. I think this is a high flying guy that, will be all around the field. And it's much need for the Cincinnati Bengals as just a little starting piece in trying to create a tough defense to go against. This is just a nice starting piece for Cincinnati.
Yeah, Starks has been weirdly falling in a lot of drafts, and I don't know why. I really like his
Right.
game. Here we're gonna have the Armand Membu fall stop. He is an
Yeah.
excellent athletic right tackle. They don't I don't know if they necessarily need a right tackle, but I think you can bump him into guard with his athleticism. But they Seahawks obviously struggle to protect the quarterback. So adding Membu there could help both facets of the running and pass game.
I like that a lot. 19 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll go Barron, cornerback, Texas. Um, yeah, I think this is much needed. Again, like, although Tampa Bay's doing a lot better than San Francisco is as the team wise, I just think Tampa Bay's got more needs defensively right now than offense. I mean, there's still like a little bit of questions, I suppose, on offensive line a little bit for Tampa, but like overall, I think this would be a great guy for Tampa Bay, and I think he's one of those guys that can just like get in there immediately and make an impact.
Yeah,
And that's, I mean, look at us going Texas, both two guys in the first round with you Golden and me Barron. So
yeah, Barron.
pretty
Yeah,
big.
really, really good player. He can line up just about anywhere. At
Yeah.
20, we're gonna go with a fun fit here. Luther Burden the third with Sean Payton is gonna be really
Ooh.
sick. Really good guy after the catch, um, and on deep balls. He kind of reminds me of Debo, but I think he's like more of a supercharged one at this point. Super fast as well.
Yeah. All right, 21 Ian for your Pittsburgh Steelers here. I think Jackson Dart, quarterback, is who they'll select. And I think, look, you can't really rely on what Aaron Rodgers is gonna decide right now. I think it's officially been 2 weeks now since free agency has started. So yeah, I don't really know what's gonna happen. Right now it seems like Pittsburgh or New York or retirement still for him. Probably Pittsburgh or retirement if I'm being honest. But you have Mason Rudolph on your roster right now. Get a second quarterback. That could be open competition for the starting job for Pittsburgh. Of course, it all depends on Aaron, but at this point, even maybe I don't know, but like I think Jackson Dart, there's a lot to like in his game still with his accuracy. Of course, he's not on the skill set the top two are yet, but I like him going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Dart's been rising. Dart's been rising. At 22 here,
Yes.
Harbaugh's going to go get one of his Michigan guys, Kenneth Grant, big guy, big nose tackle. They lost Puna Ford in free agency, so they go and get another explosive guy on the interior.
I like it a lot. 23 for the Green Bay Packers. I will go Benjamin Morrison. So I got Ben Pick and Benjamin, and I think he's a really great cornerback as well. I think he's actually one of the more underrated cornerbacks in this draft. But I like him a lot, and Green Bay needs either an edge rusher or cornerback. Either or I'm fine with. I'll go Benjamin Morrison.
I like it. Here we're going to go Nick Emmanwori had a really good combine. I think Brian Flores would find a way to use his freak athlete in multiple different ways to affect his defense.
I like that. 25, I'll go Jared Wilson, offensive OC, Georgia. Yeah, and look, I mean, any offensive lineman Texans need, especially by trading away Larry Tunsil to the Commanders.
All right. 26 here. Rams are back up. We're gonna have Shamar Stewart go. Guy they can probably move around the line. Really good run defender. Had an insane combine. So we'll go there with he's more of a raw prospect, but I think the Rams can develop him.
I think for the Baltimore Ravens, Kevin Banks Jr. will not be falling anymore. Get him. Look, you already kept Stanley. Just keep on beefing up that offensive line to make Lamar Jackson more explosive.
I like it. At 28 here, we are going to add the explosive Walter Nolan, a guy that you can put on the interior for the Lions to help out Hutchinson. Super, super explosive athlete.
I like a lot. 29. This is my sleeper of the NFL draft. I hope he goes first round. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver from Texas. I understand he's undersized, but I mean, you already got Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, and I mean, they got other great wide receivers. Like, so he might even be a wide receiver 4 by the time the season starts or whatever. Whatever he is, as he develops, like he'll be really good. Good weapon for Daniels. Just keep on giving Daniels weapons.
Yeah. 30 here, dream fit for the Bills, Derek Harmon, good run defender, upside as a pass rusher as well. Love it there.
I like that a lot. 31, I'll go Kansas City Chiefs. I know the struggle is their offensive lineman, but I think they could go safety Notre Dame Xavier Watts.
Okay.
Make their defense, get it going in ways of the secondary that can be very helpful just because we saw Jalen Hurts throwing bombs also on their secondary in the Super Bowl. Both Super Bowls he played against them, but especially this one where they won.
All right, then the defending champs now. Mike Green is going to fall to them. He's had some allegations,
That
but
was my pick too. Awesome.
Arguably he's the most polished pass rusher in this class. Super, super explosive. So that'd be a big time steal for them. Here's the full results. We have less than a minute in this meeting. Obviously, appreciate you guys tuning in. Ben, once again, of course, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You got anything else to say before this exits out? What you got?
Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to do the 4th one.